Good morning, everyone. Oh, look, this is what you need to sit in the front everywhere I go, because that just made me feel like this is a good day. Thank you. Maybe you all can give that energy. Goodness. Yeah, I need that energy this morning. Good morning. Good morning. All right. Good morning, everyone. I feel like I feel like I got like morning voice right now, so it feels really very raspy. Like I feel like I should be doing phone calls or something this morning. And I mean good ones, not in the gutter kind of. Just again, thank you all so much for being with us. I'm Cheryl Davis, the Executive Director of the San Francisco Human Rights Commission. Okay, thank you, Hydra. I'm like, look, I should start my day like this. They're taping this, right? I could play this back later. I just want to thank you all so much for coming with us on this journey, really beginning this conversation. I think so often in San Francisco, we buy into the myth of progressive liberalism and that we think that we're doing better than we actually are. And the ability to actually pause and say we need to do better, or even just acknowledge that we need to do something. Far too often, we make a lot of promises and we celebrate the resources that we have, but the resources that we have don't actually get to the people that need them the most. And so this journey for the last couple of days has been about how can we do better in a space, in a place like San Francisco with so many resources, where there are so many rich people per capita, and yet we still see tremendous disparities among people of color, especially Black folks. And so part of this discussion has been, yes, what does it look like to do youth employment, or to do jobs guarantee, or to support our entrepreneurs? And the question that we have is whether what we're doing actually is working and having the intended impact. And so today, we're going to do a little bit deeper dive. We have the ability to have some amazing people come and speak to us today that are both practitioners and researchers, folks that are challenging the systems and the policies to do better, and folks that are just getting out there doing it and showing us where the failures are and still being able to make it happen. And hopefully we can learn from that. We can do better and not just talk about it, but actually implement it and do that. And so I get to, I have to say, I'm excited about our first speaker this morning. And, okay. I appreciate that. I think from the last time somebody gave me notes, they're like, let's do this in a way where she doesn't like flash. So I appreciate that. I want to say, as we get ready to move through this, what I really am hoping to do first and foremost is a better job of thanking and acknowledging the people who support the work. And so last night I kept saying to myself, do not forget to thank the staff at the Human Rights Commission, because they have been really tremendous, because I always forget. So, and I want to give, and I don't know if she's in the room, I want to give a special shout out to Devi Zinzavadia. I don't know where Devi is. Devi was tasked with doing all the logistics and helping to support. Hey, Dev, thank you, Devi. Just thank you. She was tasked with doing all the logistics and supporting and making sure that folks were able to get their flights and hotel and the spaces and the food, and has been really a great sport with the way that I function. So thank you, Deb. I appreciate it. I also wanted to give a shout out to Kathy Mulkey-Meyer. Kathy has been working very hard the last 2 days with our local businesses and would-be entrepreneurs who are getting into that space and navigating the, I want to say broken, but my colleagues might be offended, but the broken system that is supposed to help entrepreneurs be able to do business with the city or do business in the city. But I just want to thank Kathy for navigating and holding space for those businesses over the last 2 days. I appreciate it. I think there are some technical things that they're trying to get up. Is somebody gonna give me a thumbs up when it's good to? Oh, okay. I can't really see, but I think I saw you, Brittany, give a thumbs up. So with that, I wanted to launch into the program. I know there are so many more people, Dr. Sy and Brittany and other folks that I should thank, but I just wanted to make sure to thank Debbie and Kathy, but the whole HRC team that's been supporting, thank you. So today's panel is a great opportunity to kind of think about theory and practice, right? What the application looks like, what it looks like to move from the policies to implementation. And I'm really grateful today because I think in so many ways on a personal level, our first speaker, our first guest, really represents just like culture shift, a mind shift, a way to rethink about how we navigate and move in spaces. As somebody who grew up in the South, my grandmother was from the South, and my Sundays were filled with lots and lots of heavy soul food. To be somebody who has pretty much for the most part of my life been Black, like this idea of like what food means in that context and how I like think about food and how it represents itself. So to think about like Blackness in food, and when I think about the work that Pinky Cole has done and the work of Slutty Vegan, like to transform, yes, please, thank you, Dr. Sy. Give a round of applause for the name, the ability to mainstream the word slutty is like something to be celebrated in the first place. So I want to recognize and thank you for that. But that idea of taking something like vegan and making it, like associating it with Blackness, right? Whether that's the intent or not, like that's how I receive that. And to kind of make that be a cool thing, like that in and of itself is amazing. But to take that and make it profitable and make it something that is now going to be, hopefully competition for Chick-fil-A and all the likes thereof is huge. And I think what we, I was telling Derek yesterday, who knew 20, 30 years ago that chefs and restaurateurs and economists would like be celebrities, right? That they would be celebrated for the skill set. And that's what we're really talking about here today, taking our cultural wealth, taking the things that we're good at and making them amazing and to be celebrated and to be recognized. And so I think it is no small feat that today we have both Derek Hamilton and Pinky Cole here to talk to us not just about like what we can do better, but to actually show what happens when folks have the resources and the mindset and the support and the relationships to advance the work. And I just have to say, Pinky, folks were super excited for the ability to be in space with you, to hear you speak directly. I want to thank Dr. Key for making that connection. And I would just say, this is a wonderful opportunity for those online as well as the folks here in space with us. I want to recognize my colleague from the Office of Economic and Workforce Development, because I think that you represent, Pinky, exactly what we're hoping all of our businesses, right, Lex, right, Josh, can have, what the opportunities they can have here in San Francisco with the resources and the support and our progressive mindset. So please give it up for Pinky Cole from Slutty Vegan.
I think you made a typo in my bio. I'm a rapper now, okay? Did y'all see my cipher? I'm a rapper. Hi, everybody. It's so good to be here. Man, I've been moving. I've been moving a whole lot because there's so many great things happening for me, around me, with me. I just opened up my Brooklyn location. Yes. And Spike Lee came, and Dougie Fresh came, and it was like 3,000 people outside, and I had the police around me. I'm like, I'm a D-list celebrity. This feels great. And it was just amazing to see how many people came to support me in my pursuit of helping people reimagine food. And while I thought that Slutty Vegan was an Atlanta-based phenomenon, now we have become a nationwide brand, so much so that like people stand in line for me like they stand in line for Jordans. People stand in line for me like they stand in line for the new iPhone, which, by the way, I got like an iPhone 5 and I need to catch up. But people literally have supported my brand because we have created a cultural phenomenon that builds an ecosystem and allows people to understand and become the best versions of themselves. So can I take y'all back? I want to tell y'all about my story from the very beginning. I was born on a late Sunday night. I'm kidding. I was born in Baltimore, and the day that I was coming into this earth realm, my father was sentenced to life in prison. So he ended up doing 22 years, and I grew up in a Caribbean household, so I don't know how many Jamaicans in the audience, but if you are Jamaican or know a Jamaican, you know they're a little crazy. So my mother was a workaholic, and I watched her be loyal to the same company for at least 36 years. So I saw my mother, who was loyal to a company, and my father, who was this big-time kingpin, who was just a risk taker and a fast thinker. I got to learn from the both of them. So as I got older, I became the hustler. I became committed like my mother, and I became a risk taker like my father. And as I've gotten older, I realized that entrepreneurship was something that I really, really wanted to do. So I graduated from high school, barely, and I made it to Atlanta, and I went to Clark Atlanta University. Hey, okay, it's about one of us in here. Okay, yes, hey. And when I got to Atlanta, that was the best decision that I could have ever made in my life, because what happened is it gave me the opportunity to become a woman. So I was a girl in Baltimore, but Atlanta made me a woman. Fast forward to just a few years ago, I had a restaurant called Pinky's Jamaican and American Restaurant, and it was booming. I was selling jerk chicken, but I was vegetarian, so I was lying to the people. But it worked at the time, but I realized that I was not in alignment with who I was. And because I was not in alignment with who I was, the universe said, I'm gonna take that away from you until you get clear. And I got real clear when I got real broke because I lost everything. And after losing everything, it propelled me to move to Los Angeles, California, and become a casting director on a TV show that moved me to Atlanta again to come up with what the world now knows as slutty vegan. So when I came up with this concept, it was just supposed to be something for me to like fulfill for myself. But what I realized is I was solving a universal problem. I was helping people who didn't know anything about vegan food learn about vegan food and plant-based living, and the fact that you can incorporate other options and you don't have to eat the flesh of a dead animal every day of the week. And no offense to anybody that does that, but I realized that I was kind of helping people get clear. So in the last 4 years, I have been able to create something that people love because of burgers, pies, and fries, something that people love because of community. And I have been building this ecosystem of love and cultural existence in a space where we once upon a time didn't exist this way. I now have a $100 million valued company. That's a lot of zeros. And I say that as a Black woman from East Baltimore who come from humble beginnings, who ain't come from much, who had a father that I had to hear, you have a correctional call from so-and-so facility, had to hear that every day of the week. I've been able to break generational traumas to create an experience not only for myself, but for people who look like me and for people who want to be entrepreneurs and build businesses. I was just talking to the young lady. She has a restaurant in San Francisco, which you'll hear from soon. But I'm like, it's so dope that I get to talk to people who are moving and shaking like I'm moving, all because of a bedroom idea. All because I was a big dreamer. So I'm excited about my growth. I'm excited to be on this panel. I know that there's some questions and we'll dive in deep, but it feels good to know that what I have been able to build is something that helps people along the way. So I want to talk about some of my foundational elements that we've been able to bring forth. So I started this foundation called the Pinky Co Foundation in 2019. And it was a way to really just like pay the bills on paper because I just like to give all my money out because I like helping people. And when I created that foundation, I wanted to bridge that generational wealth gap. And I did that in a major way. So we have paid the rents to local businesses so that they didn't have to close due to COVID. We have paid the balances of college students so they can graduate from school. We've partnered with the Steve Harvey, Marjorie Harvey Foundation to provide lights for families. The Department of Juvenile Justice, we provide second chance opportunities for people to come back and get a job. The water boys and the people who nobody wants to give them a chance, Slutty Vegan is giving them a chance. Myself and my fiance, because I'm engaged now. We partner with Prudential to provide life insurance for Black men in Atlanta that make $30,000 or less. So they get policies that we pay for that they get to keep. So they ain't got to pay for a fish fry. They ain't got to go on GoFundMe. They ain't got to try to scramble up money and figure it out. Our organization is helping people to identify those resources so that they can take care of their family from the ground. And it feels so good to be an equity partner in the communities in which I serve, because for me, it's bigger than just food, right? My food is cool. It tastes good, right? It's vegan. Yeah, I love it. But what I'm doing is I'm changing the narrative. I'm showing people that as I climb, I'm a lift. And as I lift, we all going to climb. And that is how you bring people together. So when we talk about cultural experiences and building equity and bringing people up with us, I'm very intentional about what I do. Something else that I do, where I go in Slutty Vegan locations, I make sure that they check the boxes. They either have to be in a food desert, a vegan food desert, or right in the heart of gentrification. And I do this specifically because I want to bring value to the community. If I'm coming to the community, I want to make sure that the store to the left of me and the store to the right of me will be able to capitalize off my line. Because if I got a line down the block, then what happens? People are going to want to patronize their businesses. And we've been intentional about doing that and showing that you can do business in the coolest, most unique way and still be profitable, still be equitable, and show people that business is not just business, it's about how you bring people up with you. So I'm happy to be here. Can we talk? I know we got some questions, and I know there's other people that's coming on the panel, and I can run my mouth all day long. So who else is Derek? Are you next? Derek, you come? Shall I introduce Derek? Or what we were doing? Well, ladies and gentlemen, no, I'm joking. I gotta write it first.
Well, I want to make sure. Has that been added to your resume as well? Are you now a rapper that I need to? No, no pressure. Maybe a dancer.
I know my lane.
Well, I do want to, part of this, and again, I appreciate the spirit and energy that Pinky has kicked us off with, and I think we really want this to be a conversation, but wanted to be able to ground it before we have it. And Hamilton has been leading conversations across the country and internationally, along with Robin Ruth Simmons in the back, around reparations and job guarantees and what it looks like for baby bonds. And so we've been talking a lot about entrepreneurship and what that investment looks like, and cultural economics and all of the things. And so I want to invite Derek up to give us a little theoretical practice and understanding before we launch into our Q&A. So come on up, Derek Hamilton.
So I'd like to begin with gratitude. Gratitude to Director Davis and the whole San Francisco Human Rights Commission. Gratitude for the partnership that we have with them, the Institute on Race, Power, and Political Economy at the New School. Dr. Davis has been talking about the economic rights component of human rights well before it came into vogue. Right now, it seems like the world is starting to understand that it's not just political rights, civil rights, social rights, cultural rights, but the fifth pillar in that component of human rights has to be economic rights. Voting when you're hungry is not freedom. All right. Big
That's a
shout
bar.
out.
That's a bar.
Big shout out to my team, the Institute on Race, Power, and Political Economy. I see a lot of them in here. I get credit. I get to stand up before you all and say things, but trust me when I tell you, I certainly couldn't be here without them, and it really is a team effort. The story you just heard from Pinky Cole is amazing. And it's not just her being valued at $100 million. It's the work that she's generating for others as well. Not a hater, but a creator. So it's an amazing story.
That's another bar.
Maybe I am a rapper. No, I'm joking. But here's the dismal part of my talk. It's going to be a lot more somber than what you heard. Because we shouldn't have to have such amazing stories to have access to wealth and economic security. We have structures that inhibit us from having that kind of access, and I'm going to talk about that right now. So racial disparities in wealth, access to capital, and business ownership are inseparable. In fact, wealth and capital are prerequisites for entrepreneurship. And Black Americans have been systematically prevented from accumulating wealth and accessing capital throughout American history. America's unjust racial business gap and racial wealth gap are rooted in a history that has privileged white people with financial advantages to buy crucial additional and intergenerational advantages for themselves and their children. Government, political, and economic interventions have privileged white Americans over Black Americans with access to both economic and political resources and the iterative and intergenerational accumulation that come along with those resources. This contrasts to a history for Black and Indigenous Americans where their personhood and whatever capital they may have established has always been vulnerable to exploitation and extrapolation by state complicit confiscation, destruction, fraud, theft, terror, and other acts of violence. While Black Americans make up about 13% of the US population, they own less than 2% of small businesses with employees. And they collect less than 1% of all business receipts. Existing distributions are products of racialized, exploitative, and extractive histories, and without capital, inequality is locked in. The rhetorical elegance that we use with words like freedom and choice and a specific notion of rights, not economic rights for people, but economic rights for property. It's a rhetoric that is devoid of an honest reckoning with the immoral practices by which that property has come to be distributed in the first place. So to be clear, the neoliberal framing of our political economy that situates a proverbial market as the great, fair, efficient, and even colorblind arbiter of our worth, of our effort, and our value, well, that naturalizes poverty and inequality by castigating it as the result of unproductive and deficient behavior on the part of those that are at the bottom of the distribution. That is, subpar outcomes are seen as resulting from personal choices of individuals and communities. An inclusive economic rights frame turns all of that on its head by locating poverty and inequality as the result of an absence of resources. That is, poverty and inequality are the result of policy choices, choices that deny people the resources they need to live meaningful lives. What we need is policies that better understand the roles of power and capital and how power and capital itself can be used to alter the rules and structures of transactions, in other words, markets, in order to privilege that capital and power in the first place. The way that wealth is generated, it is wealth that begets more wealth. The racial wealth gap and the business gap have nothing to do with Black behavior or choices. and everything to do with capital and racism. As I stated earlier, capital and wealth are prerequisites for entrepreneurship, and Black Americans have been denied access to that. For most small businesses, personal and family savings is the most common source in which they start that business. But we know from the racial wealth gap that the typical Black household has about 1/10 of the wealth of a typical white household. That's 10 cents on the dollar. Access to capital is often an insurmountable barrier to entry for Black entrepreneurs. And lack of wealth also limits the access to get a collateralized business loan to start a business. Black-owned firms are 7 times less likely than white-owned firms to get a startup business loan. And for the few Black-owned firms that are able to secure that startup loan, the size of that loan, the average size of their loan is about $35,000 compared to about $107,000 as the average loan for a white-owned firm. Another statistic, Black Americans, again, make up about 13% of the US population and receive about 3% of government-issued small business administration loans. If these programs were more equitable in how they were administered, Black firms would have received an additional $2.5 billion in loan in the fiscal year 2019. Still, instead of focusing on capital endowments, what our governments predominantly do, the predominant strategies to address the business gap, is focusing on entrepreneurship seminars, technical assistance, and tax breaks for wealthy, often white, investors to produce wealth and business opportunities in the Black communities. Sadly, the racial wealth gap itself, combined with uneven access to credit and neglect, particularly from federal lending agencies, play a crucial, critical role in maintaining that racial business gap that I've been describing. So I'm going to end with a reality check. Again, I'm the dismal person up here today. Fostering Black business in and of itself will not solve the racial wealth gap, nor generate racial inequality in general. Everyone can't be Pinky Cole. The vast majority of American households do not own any business equity, Black or white. And in our modern economy, it's simply not designed to accommodate small businesses for everyone. Yet, closing the racial business gap is an admirable and just goal. People should have access to pursue their entrepreneurial spirits. We know also that well-financed Black firms incubate other additional effects for Black communities. It increases wealth in Black areas, it creates additional jobs, and it reduces the persistent shortages of essential goods and services in Black communities, including healthcare, childcare, and access to quality food. So I'll leave you all with those thoughts and look forward to an invigorating conversation.
Give it up for our 2 amazing folks who are helping us with the grounding. And so to kind of continue this conversation and move into some of the Q&A, I am honored to introduce to everyone Dr. Saida Leah Tutufu Birch, who is going to help moderate this next conversation. And then with some local practitioners, we have got Tiffany Carter, who is owner of Bouge Cali, who has locations in downtown, kind of almost San Francisco, and at the Warriors Chase Center. Do you want to come up, Tiffany? And then we have, I don't know where. Yeah, that's right. That's okay. That's good, Tiffany. They're coming this way. And then, I don't know, Sean, are you in here? Sean Richard, who is one of our cannabis owners, equity cannabis owners from Cookies. And And then I am really grateful that we have Dr. Lakeisha Hallman, who from the Pop-Up Village, who has been doing amazing work all over, but helping businesses get started. And so welcome this amazing panel. Thank you all so much for being here. Kick it over to Dr. Sai.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Director Davis. It is my honor to be before you today. And this esteemed panel, I know we are going to have a time for questions and answers and a dynamic conversation. And so if I was to go through all the accolades that are present on this stage right now, we will be here all day. But I just want to name a few. We have 2 recognized and honored 40 under 40 panelists, Pinky and Dr. Key. We have the first Black-owned equity cannabis dispensary on the stage in Sean Richard.
Let's talk after this.
And I'm sure there's a first Black women-owned restaurant at the Chase Center, where the home of the national champions, Golden State Warriors. And then Dr. Hamilton is the first in many economic accomplishments. So a whole bunch of firsts happening up here. And let's get this conversation started with, there was so much triumph as well as trials shared in your comments. And I want to look to our practitioners. So Tiffany, Dr. Key, and Sean, what stood out for you? As we think about Black business in the comments from Pinky and Dr. Hamilton, what stood out? What's the urgency behind what we heard?
So I think, first, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks to everyone who made today possible. I'm a proud Atlantan on the stage, hanging out in San Francisco. I'm a proud Black woman business owner. But one thing that really stood out is something that Professor Hamilton said around the need for Black businesses to get capital. But what I was looking at in standing on a stage, that it was actually being personified. What happens when you inject capital into a Black business? You get a Pinky Cole. Mm-hmm. So Pinky Cole was able to raise how many millions of dollars?
$25 million.
$25 million. So when you all see things like the Brooklyn location, the Harlem location, all the locations in Atlanta, that is due to what Professor Hamilton said. Give Black businesses the money that they need, because we're innovative enough to do exactly what this unicorn entrepreneur has been able to do. So those things really stood out to me.
Yeah. Since we dropping bars today, they say this is a big, rich town. I just come from the poorest part. So, a lot of things stood out to me. But first I want to say that, I got to write my stuff down, y'all, but Black capitalism, and me and my daughter, who's right here, like, if any of y'all follow us on social media, we debate everything. So I am really for Black capitalism. She's a socialist, so she said. But she sell Yeezys and everything else. We ain't gonna go there. But
Right.
Black capitalism is Black power, and entrepreneurship is the highest form of activism. So many things that was said resonated with me, to be able to open up a restaurant in San Francisco, in a place that I'm from. Like, it's not easy to do, but because of government and different things, I've been able to do that, to have a space in the Chase Center. That's less overhead for me. I don't gotta have a restaurant. I ain't gotta worry about a lot of things that I probably would have to worry about. So yeah.
Thanks, Tiff. Sean, did you want to respond?
Yes. First of all, thank you for having me. Big shout out to Cheryl Davis. Y'all put your hands together for her. She's always looking out for the Black community. Rico, he in the back. Love you, little bro. So let me just say this: as being the first Black equity-owned dispensary in San Francisco, I'm one of the first. It's been a lot of firsts for Sean. I'm one of the first 8 members of the Omega Boys Club that was sent to Clark University in Atlanta. Got kicked out and came back home, but
It's all right. Shout out to HBCUs.
Came home, and I've always been an individual that worked for itself. I'm 54 years old, so out of my 54 years on this earth, I probably had about maybe 5 to 10 jobs. Most people I know that's my age had about 30, 40 jobs. But because I always work for myself and I come from the community, you know, and what I was learned being the first member of the Omega Boys Club is get rid of that stinking thinking. You know, what I know I owe. And what we have to do is invest back into the black community, invest to black business, teach the young brothers and sisters that they can do and be anything they want to be by investing in themselves. But we have to invest in themselves. We have to teach them. And if we don't teach them and show them, they ain't going to know. And so we have to understand that the investment that we put back into the community is going to be the investment that we're going to be able to sit back and say, we helped that young brother get that. And you go to the next person and give it to him. The game is to be told, not sold in the black community. But we sell the game all the time to each other. And everybody else is not selling the game. They're giving it to their communities, and that's how they're winning, and we constantly keep losing. And we got to build that back up and give the game to the young black folks that's in our community.
Thank you. And Pinky, I saw, did you want to respond?
I do. You know, it's interesting. When Derek was talking, he was talking about that racial wealth gap. But there's something in our communities that we don't talk about that is so prevalent. It's that relationship gap. Do y'all know what I mean when I say that? Yes. Okay? If you know the right people, you'll get the right things. That is what culture that we're living in now. On top of that racial wealth gap, you got to have the right relationships, because if you don't, you're going to be standing in the background. There's so many people in the world that probably cook better than me, but I have been able to build really good relationships. Does that mean that I have an advantage over some people? By default, yeah, because I got good relationships. So how can we get black entrepreneurs to be able to be better positioned to have those relationships? And it's about the resources, the conversations, things like this, for us to be able to provide access and safe spaces for them to be able to engage with other people. What I realize in our communities is, and I was guilty of it myself, we got a pride issue. Right? And sometimes when we're prideful, we don't want to open up and talk to people. I mean, this is one of my best friends in the world. I love this girl so much. And one thing I respect about her is when I first met her, she wouldn't stop reaching out to me. And I'm like, all right, I got to be friends with this girl. Like, she was having a festival and she wanted me to be a part of it. It is true. It's true. So not true. It's true. But anyway, I say all that to say that we have been able to build a relationship. Now, there's a flip side to that coin. That sometimes people aren't able to be advancing in what they want to do because they haven't been able to foster those good relationships, whether people don't want to talk to them or they just haven't been able to be in amongst those spaces. So we just got to do a better job, myself included, which is what I do through my foundation, to provide that space for people to be able to do that. Because that's something people really don't talk about either.
I see you, Dr. Key. And I want to stay on this topic, too. So I want you to respond, Dr. Key. And also, what you're talking about is multiple forms of capital. So when we think about wealth, we typically go towards money and economic capital, but we know that wealth is holistic, as you all shared in your comments. And Pinky, you talk a lot about mentorship, and you just mentioned relationships. So for the panel, and I'll start with you, Dr. Key, how important is it to invest in those multiple forms of capital, social capital, cultural capital, in order for black businesses to thrive?
It is the mind shift that is not talked about enough. And I don't think mindset is talked about enough. In order for us to be able to build these networks, there's something internal that has to happen. So there's an internal phenomena that must take place within every individual. And since we're talking about black businesses, there's an internal phenomena that must happen into that business owner that admits, I cannot do this by myself. That admits that iron truly sharpens iron. That in order for me to really grow and be able to expand my network, I have to build something that attracts people to it. People are not attracted to dormant ideas. And you have to know when your idea has legs and when your idea has wings. As people respond to things such as the Slutty Vegan, such as my company, The Village Market, people began to wonder, like, what is it in that burger? When you draw people in, then you start thinking about what is this mutually beneficial relationship. And so for entrepreneurs and those who are thinking about scaling their businesses, nurturing relationships is paramount. But nurturing that relationship within yourself is the only way that you can open the door to any other relationship and be open and receptive to what comes with it. I think it's extremely important when we think about economic mobility, when we're thinking about launching businesses. And really quickly, one of my first relationships with Pinky, the question was, could Slutty Vegan be a part of the Village Market? And I said no. And everyone thought I was crazy, and I think she did too, but we're friends. But I said no because I created the Village Market for businesses that were aspiring to be where Pinky was. And so it was better for her to come out as a speaker rather than a vendor, because I wanted to make sure that space is being made for entrepreneurs to grow, but to be able to be in space with a Pinky Cole. So as a business owner, we have to know that when opportunities that seems that this could actually take your business to the next level, when to say no, when to be thoughtful, that no, but yes, with a pivot.
Yeah, let's give it up for telling the truth and being authentic, okay? Because we need that. And I want to going beyond personal relationships and collaboration with respect to access to capital. We know in this room we have philanthropic partners, government partners, even corporate partners. So I want to look to Derek in terms of gaining access to capital. How important is it to foster relationships across sectors, and what could cross collaboration across sectors look like?
So when we do cross-sector collaborations with entities like philanthropy, my hope is that it's demonstration purposes, but at the end, the power rests with the public, and that's government. So one thing I want to bring up is during the pandemic, we're talking about capital, economic capital, political capital as well. So in the pandemic between February of 2020, when we hibernated the economy, and April of 2020, 41% of black businesses went out of business. We know that the PPE loans that went out were administered through banks. And blacks historically have not had the same type of relationships with banks as some white businesses. So what if that policy was administered through the public bank, the Federal Reserve Bank? Why do we have to use commercial banks as intermediaries? Perhaps it was perceived as efficient, but that had racial impact on society. So, I'm alluding to this notion of the public and political capital, and I'll say a little bit more, and then I'm going to stop. Politics, economics, and race have never been separable. We just had a conversation earlier about black capitalism versus socialism. Those are polemics that largely belong in the classroom. In reality, we've always had a mixed economy. We should have people have a right to entrepreneurship, but we should also have people to have a right to see a doctor if they're sick without the stigma and vulnerability of finance at their most vulnerable point. So, these things, who was the person that really pushed black capitalism? Richard Nixon. Yep. The only agency in government that's specifically targeted for minorities is the Minority Business Enterprise, MBE. And Richard Nixon founded that, and he founded it without teeth. It's not well funded. I mean, it receives well less than 1% of all government outlays. So I guess the point I'm trying to get to in the end is that political capital, that we need to organize and collectively demand that our government does things and seeds our business in a way that they did other groups as well.
Yes, thank you. So I want to shift a little bit to get to what the talk is called. It's called For the Culture. Yeah. And Pinky, in your comments, you mentioned your original business wasn't aligned with who you are. And what we know to be true is that black culture bleeds influence. So can you talk to us about the importance of your culture, of black culture on business, and some of the practices about why the intersection between culture and business helps it to thrive? And then this is for all of our business owners on the panel as well.
Well, simply put, we all know this for a fact that black culture moves the needle. I'm talking about fashion. I'm talking about dance, hair, skin, and nails, culture and entertainment. All of those things fall under the umbrella that supports black business. So I'll give the example. I was joking about how I'm a rapper, but I'm really a rapper. But anyway, BET did a hip hop cipher. And for those who don't know what BET is, just press Google and look that up. But BET did a hip hop cipher for the hip hop awards. I'm a restaurateur. I have a restaurant. I sell burgers, pies, and fries. I ain't had no business in being in nobody's cipher for the BET Awards. But let me tell you what happened. When I did that cipher, I incorporated my business. I talked about how Harlem location was opening, right? Do you know I got 1 million impressions? Do you know I got 10 secured interviews just from that? I'm telling you that because there's something about Black culture that is so influential to strategy, to marketing campaigns, to growing your business and relationship building. Quite frankly, it's innovative. When we think about new products and like what these big corporations want to do and their rollouts and how they create strategies for their new items for their businesses, they look at our innovation first, the things that we like, the things that we think about. What music are we listening to? What clothes are we wearing? What are the new designers that are coming out that we are tapping into? They pay attention to those trends and make sound decisions based on those trends. I was talking to a private equity investor, and I'm even embarrassed to say this, but it was the truth. He told me that somebody on TikTok, a Black woman, posted a company with, I'm not gonna say the company, but she was wearing the item of the company that he owns. And she only had about like 100 followers, right? He told me that that one post on TikTok made this company $5 million. Guess how much money she got from that? Zero. She didn't get any money. So when we talk about how Black culture moves the needle in business, we move the needle in business. We literally create a space for people to build off of our backs based on the things that we naturally do because Black people are cool. Okay? Black people are fun. Black people are smart. We're entertaining. When you come around us, there is a different type of energy that you don't necessarily get anywhere else. And people make decisions based on all of those things. And people capitalize off that for the wrong reasons. And we need to start doing a better job at owning that again and making money off the things that we put out so that we can reserve those into our communities and make them more equitable.
Yes. Yeah. And but I'm gonna come to you next, Sean. But I did want to mention somebody referenced black women making black women amplifying the fact that Black is beautiful and our lips serving as pillows to kiss. What Pinky didn't mention is that she launched in partnership with the Lip Bar liquid lipstick, which I am wearing today in the Touch Me color.
I knew you looked familiar.
And I did want to tell y'all it passes the kiss test. So for all my ladies out there, you know, go ahead and get that Lip Bar times Slutty Vegan liquid lipstick. All right, Sean. Okay, Black culture. You're in the cannabis industry. We heard what President Biden did yesterday. So tell us, how it's influencing you.
You, Pinky, you're so right about what you just said. Let me just say, I started an organization back in 1995 called Brothers Against Guns. 2 of my brothers was murdered, 99 and 95. And so at that time, it wasn't hip to be against the violence. It was always hip to be in the violence. And being that I come from that, you know, and come from that community. So my mother always told me, tell the truth, speak your mind, and be real about it. So some people may say, Sean's arrogant. I'm not arrogant. My mother always told me to be convinced. And I'm very convinced on what I do. I always work for myself. I had one of the biggest clothing stores on San Bruno Avenue. So everybody used to sell clothes and they used to sell music. I said, well, let me incorporate it and I'm gonna sell everything. You know, so I had everybody coming in there. So like you just said, Pinky, the Black culture is hip. The fact that I'm the first Black-owned equity dispensary owner and I partner up with Cookies. And so everybody was like, oh, cookies. But everybody really understand is Sean and Sean's team. So I wouldn't be in this position if it wasn't for a group like the San Francisco Equity Group who put me in this position, you know what I'm saying, to be part of where I'm at today and part of something bigger in the culture that's bigger. We've been smoking weed for a long time. I don't smoke, by the way. I don't smoke. I want to be very clear. I don't smoke.
Speak for yourself, no joke.
You know what I'm saying? But we've been smoking weed before any culture was smoking weed. I'm keeping it real. But at the same time, we don't get no credit for it. We don't get no credit for what's going on today. We don't get no credit for how it then branched off and blew up, and we don't get nothing. Now, let me just say this. White America been at the front of the table selling marijuana, having cannabis dispensaries for many blue moons. We're just now coming to the table, but we're last. So now it's our time. So when we speak out about it and we tell the truth about it, they don't want to hear it. But no, at the end of the day, only way you can get in through equity. And most of the people of color in here is equity that been suffered by the war on drugs, that have been held back. So we move the needle, like you said, Pinky, and we got to keep moving the needle. You know what I'm saying? Fashion, hair, food, clothing, everything. But at the end of the day, it's about all of us or none of us. And when I say all of us, I mean the black community. We got to come together. We got to work together. We got to show each other, like you said, building the relationships and having that relationship. I started this in 1995. I built the relationships with every single mayor up into this mayor to this day on establishing relationships from 95 all the way up until now. So we have to make sure that we take the younger generation behind us and bring them along and sit them at the table and let them meet the mayor. Let them meet these supervisors. Sometimes folks that's up in here that's my age, we need to shut up and sit back and let the young folks talk. Hear them out. Tell us what's happening, because that's the only way we're going to see the future better for them and for us.
Yes. And Dr. Key, I see.
Sure. I want to come back to this. Sean, I love everything that you said. I want to come back to this conversation around culture, marketing. So I think there's a time to be cool, and there's a time to understand how to be profitable with your coolness. What I really want for us, and mindset is essential for me. What I want for black people to understand that it's not enough for us to be cool. That we have to have a strategy behind every single thing that we do. In order for us to grow this and create this economy that we're talking about, we have to start cashing out on some of these innovative ideas, the way that people literally look at everything that we buy and determine what they put into market. I have helped thousands of entrepreneurs across this country own their IP. That's their intellectual property. That's not something sexy, but that's something that's needed.
That is very sexy.
That's
sexy.
Yeah, I'll take being sexy. I'll take being sexy. But also their trademarking. Because when this funnel comes down, and Sean just talked about this, it is literally how it's designed that we're always behind the wave. We're not leading it. Because when it came to this cannabis industry, so many black and brown people have been incarcerated until it came to a place that others felt that, oh, I can get some cash from this. Because cash can be made, now we can have a conversation around the wellness from cannabis. But at first, it was a disenfranchisement of cannabis. And so for us as black people, I think it's very important, since we understand how this wave works. We have years to understand this model of capitalism, this model of disenfranchisement, to know the only way for us to truly move a needle, we must own things. We must surrender to the land and own it. We must buy in our own commercial properties. We must buy commercial properties as a collective and determine who is going to be open for business in the next couple months. I hope Tiffany talks about that. But we need to talk about owning real estate, putting black business in those spaces, having relationships with CDFIs, having relationships with our mayors. I sit on the board for the mayor for the city of Atlanta. I'm on the largest economic development board for the city that's determining where money flows in the city. There are many boards and board appointments that I was asked to be on. I said, where does the money flow? Because I know when I sit at the table, thousands of black businesses sit along with me. And I'm ensuring that money that goes to housing goes to black communities. Monies that is deployed for black communities going to black schools. Monies that is being deployed for black businesses will actually get there. So I think we have to be really strategic with how we start thinking about cool. I don't want to just be cool. I want to make a wave, and I want to ride that wave and lead it.
Yes. I don't know about y'all, but I'm getting goosebumps up here. Tiff, I want you to respond, you and Dr. Hamilton, to respond to the question about culture, but also I want to invite members of the audience. If you have questions, I can sort of see, but go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll make sure to get a mic to you. So, Tiff, let's hear from you, and then we'll come to Dr. Hamilton and to members of the audience for any questions you might have.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can just go behind what everybody said. We are the culture. We are a billion-dollar culture. You know, Bouge Cali, we are one of the highest grossing restaurants in the Chase Center, you know, so, and a lot, yeah. You know, but how is that reflective when you walk into the Chase Center, you know, as to the other restaurants that's there, you know? And we are working on a third location. That's going to be really big in San Francisco. During the pandemic, a lot of Black businesses closed. We grew. We grew record sales. I didn't even get a PPP. I was making so much money. I was like, because
That's good problems.
Yeah,
okay?
right. Well, I'm from the hood, and I was just like, I ain't messing with the government. Like I was doing, and you know, we continuing to grow. So what I'm learning, everything is relationships. Like, you know, like it's so important. Like right now I'm fighting multiple sclerosis, so y'all might see me limping it. Like I don't even be wanting to go places, but I gotta go mingle. I gotta go network. Everything I got is because of it's from relationships. It's from networking. It's so important. Like everything, you know. But I think one of the biggest things that I love to show in my restaurant is that we can be successful as Black people. We can run successful restaurants. I see everybody at Bouge Cali from the top to the bottom. They all sit at the counter. Everybody. And they love it. They just... What's up? Yeah. You know, so, and I be popping my stuff. I ain't gonna even front. But then I see Pinky and I'm like, I gotta step it up. Like, for me, yeah, like, I've been doing this for so long, and it's not a lot of people that look like us. Yeah. You know, to see a young Black woman killing the restaurant industry. Like, I've been following Danny Myers, and Pinky probably the only one who know who that is here, maybe. Like, you know, this is like an old white man's game, you know? So, you know, but to be successful in just business, period. Like, you know, my daughter just graduated college. Yeah. I was able to I can't even front like I put her through college necessarily, but you know, it was the ease, you know, of having a business and for her to graduate and she ain't got to rush to find a job because I'm like, you work for me, like, you know, so she do all my payroll, all that stuff. She bothered me all day, Mom, you know, so it's beautiful though, like just to have that. I'm like, this must feel what privilege is like, you know. Wow. Like, you know, it's a privilege, like the value I'm able to add to my community. That's what business does. It adds value to community. And in San Francisco, our community has been pushed out of San Francisco. So when y'all come here and y'all like, where's Black people? We've been pushed out. We further and further past that bridge. But I'm like, I ain't moving. Number one, my business is here, so I got to be here. So I got to make that money because I'm going to be right in San Francisco. I ain't moving nowhere. Yes. Like, you know, so, yeah.
Thank you.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's all you had to say.
So, Eric, do you want to respond?
Why do I have to go after all of them? Black people and Black culture are certainly to be celebrated.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, what we want is for things like Black to not have for white not to have transactional value when it comes to marketplace things. But we don't want to lose our Blackness. The world doesn't want us to lose our Blackness. We also need businesses that are diversified. We need to extend well beyond restaurants, well beyond personal services. We need to be in finance. We need to be in all types of industries. We also, and then here I wanted to point this out too, because we had the conversation around cannabis, and what I thought was landmark yesterday, we had a president of the United States do a federal pardon for all convictions of marijuana possession.
Right. Wow. Called my cousin. Asked him, was he getting out soon?
And a commitment to pursue getting marijuana off a Schedule I restriction. But there's irony, because this is also the same person who orchestrated the crime bill that led to mass incarceration. but you know, that with that irony, you know, damn it, why am I the dismal person? But I celebrate Biden for that, because we want change. We want to have space for people to be able to do better and do good. Biden is also the person that, by executive order, made all federal agencies consider race and race equity in what they do. That's transformative, right? We haven't really seen that in other presidents. So that we should critique him, we should hold his feet to the fire, but we should also celebrate victories. And all these people on stage are victories.
Yes. Yes. And I can assure you we will end on a high note, pun intended. So let us go to the audience. If there's questions from the audience, I see Brittany up here. We probably have time for 1 or 2 quick questions. 2 for the questions. Right, 1 or 2 quick questions from the audience before we close. Brittany, I see you.
Thank you. One, I just want to say congratulations. I'm just so proud of y'all, and if nobody has poured that into you today, congratulations, because you are amazing. So one thing that I really heard and also just get from the feed from Pinky is authenticity. Yeah. And really when you were talking about, you know, the cultural wealth and value add of Black culture, in my mind, it's American culture, you know? What is marketed to the world as American food or American style or whatever else is a watered down version of what we started. Like one of my favorite t-shirts is ghetto until proven fashionable, because a lot of fashion starts with us and then, you know, it's talked. Anyway, my question is, to your point around trademarking or ownership, like, can you guys give any type of practical advice to the audience around ensuring that, you know, as we are creating, that we are also owning and receiving the credit for what we're creating?
So I'll go first. So I have this motto: own the business and buy the building. Own the business and buy the building. So I have a 70-30 ownership to lease ratio in Slutty Vegan. I like to purchase the property and then put the business in it, because God forbid something ever happened to Slutty Vegan, I still own the dirt. And what that does for me is I'll always have equity inside of that atmosphere, and there will never be a rainy day, because I'm setting myself up for that. That's the first thing. Mm-hmm. The second thing is when we talk about trademarks. When I first started Slutty Vegan, I got every single website. I got every single thing on my item trademarked, because I was thinking big business. I was not making that much money when I first started. I had about 4 people the first week, but I knew that I was going to be building a $1 billion brand. So I had to start moving like a $1 billion brand. So what that meant is I had to get my trademarks, and not just American trademarks. I got overseas trademarks. You go to China, you're going to see me. Okay. You go to England, you're going to see me. Jamaica, you're going to see me there too. But it was necessary for me to do that, because when you stay ready, you ain't never got to get ready. And when we want to get even more practical, there are 2 people that are so important in business, and I think that a lot of us probably should know this. It's an attorney and a really good accountant. Mm-hmm. An attorney will make sure that your ass do not get sued. And an accountant will make sure that your books are clean so that the IRS don't come after you, because I've been there, done that, and it's not a fun game to play. So hopefully that was helpful. But own the business, buy the building is my best advice I could give you.
Dr. Key, please.
I was waiting for everybody to clap. So what Pinky did when she started a business is exactly what I did for Village Market. Started Village Market. The next day, I started the process for trademarking. I had this concept, support as a verb, started the process for trademarking. And then one really amazing thing happened. I think it was 2017. I knew that there would come a time that I would focus heavily on programming for Black businesses. But I knew that my target audience would be corporations. So I went ahead and got my nonprofit organization. So when the world started caring about Black people and figuring out, oh, we need to give money to Black people, I was an organization that was ready. I had all my business certifications. I had everything that I needed. So I raised well over about $5-6 million within the span of about 2 months. And my organization was ready for that. My employees were ready for it. We were ready for scale. So the conversation today is make sure that your operations are tight so you can scale. The attorney is a big expense. It is the most costly thing that you would ever do to ensure that you can stand 5 to 6 years later. I suggest getting 2 accountants, well, actually 3. I think you should have an accountant that look at your payroll, an accountant that looked at your overall operations, and then that bookkeeper that's helping you understand what's going on and where your money is going. I have a meeting with my bookkeepers across, I have 3 companies every week. I meet with my CFO once a month, or if there's an emergency. And my 2 CPAs, I meet with them quarterly. But that bookkeeper and I have a constant conversation because I follow the money. Because as you grow and as you start being booked for talent, you can get distracted. And so what I really want entrepreneurs to understand that when you start getting distracted, that is when mistakes happen. And you need to catch those things on the front end. You can hire good people. Number one, entrepreneurs, please hire good people.
Team.
And make sure that you treat people well. Make sure that you're not grandfathering these oppressive systems of these very toxic work cultures. Make sure that you are not the culprit for that. I ensure that my employees know that I literally cannot do this work without them every day. They get gratitude the same way I throw gratitude to God every day. My team every morning receives a very personal message from me, telling them, thank you for letting me see this journey through. Thank you for bringing your best of yourself to this team every single day. And let me know if there's any way that I can empower you more to be your best self. Please make time for that.
Can I say something?
Okay, yeah, Tiff, please.
Yeah,
respond.
just real quick. It's so important what they said. Like, I'll be super vulnerable and honest. Like, I didn't have an accountant, bookkeeper for a long time. That cost me thousands. And like the IRS in the state of California, they'll smell when you got money. They never called me before. Like, they will know when you like, oh, she got some money now. And yes, it will cost you. They will shut down your business. Like, I didn't even know it was an accountant and a bookkeeper was 2 different things. So like, I'm just now getting to that point. And that's like some of the things that my daughter helped me with. She like, Mom, and I'm like, dude, I pay you to do this. Like, it's like running a business is not easy. Like y'all see on Instagram, you know, it's very rewarding, but it's a lot of moving parts and you gotta be on your stuff. Like, cause it will cost you. Like, I've had a lot of high price mistakes that, you know, now like, you know, Pinky gave everybody LLCs and I was like, that's dope. I don't know what the laws is in Georgia and in California, you better have that $800 every year. Like, you know, California taxes is different. So yeah.
Thank you. So we have 4 minutes left. Utuma, I'm going to ask you to get to the question, limit your context, but if you can ask your question so we can respond.
Was I loud? My question is, can you guys collaborate and get something on 3rd Street in the Bayview Hunters Point area, please?
Which is a very food apartheid. It is a vegan desert.
Find me a location and I'm there.
I got you.
Okay, yes, find me a location.
Every day, come on.
Can we do a pop-up at your restaurant?
Can we get
Come on.
Oh, don't play
Y'all
because
got
I
that?
connect you with the right
We're
people.
y'all got that?
Okay,
We
pop,
manifesting
Slutty Vegan
up here.
pop-up.
We manifesting.
Papa, Bouge Cali, let's do it.
Okay. So in the time that we have left, like I said, I want
Saida,
to
just make sure, because there's a lot of commitments being made up here. Nobody, look, because you know I'm like keeping all the receipts and being like,
And I'm going to call
me.
Dr. Davis.
Oh, no, I'm coming for real.
it's in the atmosphere, and we meet the checklist. Bayview Hunters Point is a food desert, is a vegan desert, all the things. So yes,
And
we're
it's
gonna
a
make it
block
happen.
from Chase Center. So
Yeah, and we got a
So
little
listen,
piece of change.
let me
to
tell
help.
you, I did a
They got
pop-up
money.
in Oakland, because Oakland is 20 minutes away from here, right?
Yep.
I did a... Does anybody remember when I came and did that pop-up? Was anybody here?
Yes.
Okay. So I did a pop-up in Oakland, and I literally had probably like 1,000 people that came out off one Instagram post. So I know that there is an audience for my little small Black-owned business. So we are coming. As long as y'all can help us find a location, we will be here.
Got you.
Yes.
Dr.
So-
Cheryl Davis says she got money.
Yeah.
I heard that part.
Charge it to Dreamkeeper.
So
Charge it to
she heard
Dreamkeeper.
that part.
Dream
yeah.
Keeper.
Okay, so we have 2 minutes left, and I wanna close on that high note, and I will start with Derek and kind of ping pong. Derek, Tiffany, Pinky. Well, let's close with Pinky because you got that energy. And Dr. Key. Black business and Black women entrepreneurs are the fastest growing entrepreneurs in this country. We continue to fuel this economy. So what excites you? And as you think about that fact, what are you hopeful for?
This for me.
What are you hopeful for? For everyone.
I mean, yeah, I hear that number a lot, but we the fastest growing business. But like, what I would love to know is like, how many of us is actually successful? Like, it's very different when opening a business and actually being successful and running a great business, you know. And we also are the least funded businesses too. We like at 1.3% or something like that.
Leave the dismal to Derek. What you hopeful for, sis? What you hopeful for? Come on, sis.
He got his statistics.
Let's manifest here.
But yeah, no, I'm very hopeful. I hope that I'm proof. I hope that I'm a blueprint. I hope that it can be done. You know, I'm a mother. I started this when my child was like in middle school, and it didn't get off the floor until she graduated college. So, you know, yeah, I'm very hopeful. But yeah, black business, like we gotta, like I work with a lot of immigrant communities and they doing it. Like, I want that for my people so bad. I'm hopeful for it. You know, they don't even speak English. They don't even have to, you know, but just running a good business and showing up for your business is important. It's very possible. And that's how I think as Black people that we can achieve the American dream is through entrepreneurship. So I'm very hopeful.
Derek?
You're right about the dismal. So.
Okay, we're going to ask you what you want then.
So there's push and pull. Some people are pushed into business because they don't have other opportunities, other chances. Some people are pulled because of their passion. So we need to put numbers in context. We also know that when we think about things like fastest growth, if we start with 1% and add another percent, that's 100% growth. If you start at 99% and add another percent, that's a 1% growth. So where we start in the distribution skews that number. But here's the point. We referenced the IRS earlier. We know the IRS disproportionately audits Black people. Disproportionately audits Black people.
That's for personal.
So we need the spirit that's here, the innovation that's here. We need that I don't care, I'm gonna overcome. But we also need that structural work so they don't have to work as hard. We also need that structural work because we don't ask at what cost. What is the cost for working twice as hard to get by? Many of us lost a lot of people for working twice as hard to get by.
That's good.
So let's put all this in context, and let's also point out that what we have up on stage is success. What we don't have up stage is all those people that did work hard and didn't achieve. So I'm going to end with the positive thing of saying we can do both. We can change structures, and we can put forth that individual effort to make sure we're successful.
Yes, thank you. Sean.
I'm very hopeful about what's going on. As you can see, fellas, the ladies are running everything. We got 4 amazing women up on this stage. We got women in the audience that's pushing the envelopes. We got to catch up. I'm just being real. But at the end of the day, is that the ladies said it best. Take care of your employees, get you an accounting, know your business, read, study, learn, don't give up, stay focused, keep your business to yourself, move forward, and everything is going to pan out for you exactly the way you want it to be. And at the end of the day, you got to know one thing, is that you got to believe in yourself. Forget what everybody else think of you. Believe in yourself. Sean don't care what nobody have to say about him. They say Sean is arrogant. I don't care. I'm convinced that I can do anything that I say I'm going to do. And people don't like that because they don't know me. They don't understand me. And so you need to take that same attitude. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, it's either all of us or none of us. And we got to stay focused on the path that's ahead of us. And if your dream's to own your own business, if it's your dream to have it, you know what I'm saying, a $1 billion business, I'm trying to catch up to these ladies right here. They talking about billions. I'm still in the hundreds. $100, not thousands. I'm trying to catch up. I got all the relationships in the world. They ain't made no 100 million yet. So I always say this, Black and brown, we have to take back the town. We have to stay focused. We have to always push forward. And we got to believe in ourselves. And you got to teach the younger generation. I'm going to preach that because they are the future. Again, they are the future.
Yeah, in and now. Pink.
So I'll be brief. You know what? I'm on my Barack Obama every day. I believe so much in hope. I think hope is what keeps me going when I'm extremely tired. Hope is one thing that we always have been able to defer to. When we call it resiliency, I know it's hope. It's that burning underbelly that there is something very much so possible that we can experience. But what keeps me going and what I do know to be true, that the only way that we can experience and actualize hope is we lean on each other. That collectively we must move the needle. Collectively we must support each other. Collectively we must agitate the narrative. Collectively we must love Black joy and Black gifts and Black aspirations and Black innovation and Black prosperity. That's what I believe in. That is what I hope that you all believe in as well.
Drop the mic. One thing that we all got in common in this room is that is a dog right there. I did not know that you had a puppy right there. I'm like, what is that? So this message is for you too, puppy. One thing that we all have in common is that one day we will become somebody's ancestor. What do I mean when I say that? We will leave a legacy, whether good, bad, or indifferent, that will speak to the idea that we left behind. So what idea are we going to leave behind? Is it the idea that I've been able to create something and create opportunities for other people? Or did I leave nothing behind and nothing to provide a space for people to be able to have equitable opportunities? The best feeling in the world for me as a Black woman is to know that my mother and my father still have life and breath in their body, to see their child, their offspring, make it to a level that they could never even imagine. Do you know how big that is? So they get to live through me. So to be able to do this in a way that I've never even seen with my own two eyes, it lets me know that I'm creating a space for other Black women around the world to run and own their own detail shops, to lead their PR firms, to operate and build billion-dollar restaurants, to be able to move the needle and to create organizations that people will talk about outside and inside of the classroom in a way that you'll hear it and see it in textbooks. So when you ask what I'm hopeful about, I am hopeful about the idea of more Pinky Coles in the world that may be raw on the tongue, right? But authentic and organic and real and moving the needle when it comes to change and inspiring little girls, little boys, and little dogs that you can literally do what it is that you desire without any limitations. How you see me here is how you see me everywhere. And I'm doing it confidently as a Black woman without restrictions, and either you're gonna like me or you ain't gonna like me, but you're gonna respect me, and you're gonna understand that what I'm building, it ain't just for me, it's for everybody that's looking and responding and supporting and believing in me. Yes.
You should just drop the mic right there. And with that, let's give it up for the fire panel, Dr. Derek Hamilton, Pinky Cole, Dr. Lakeisha Hallman, Sean Richard, and Tiffany Carter.
And give it up for Dr. Saida Leah Tutufu Birch for her moderating. We are getting ready to start our next panel. I think there might be a little bit of coffee for folks who drink it, just a little bit. You may have to share one cup. I was just thinking too, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the hope and the dream of the slave. So again, thank you so much. In the words of Maya Angelou and what was left with us, thank you again to our wonderful panel. And next up is Brittany and folks. Brittany and Alicia Modestino and Carrie Malsbury Lane. close, not right.
And
but
Director Davis, if I may, I also forgot to mention for more intimate focus for our entrepreneurs, Dr. Key will be facilitating a workshop this afternoon as well at Pier 1 for those who want more details.
They would like a picture, I guess. Yeah.